So you'd like to know which tool to use for which material when you make mosaics? Well, you're in the right place. I'm Helen Miles and I'm here to teach you all the tips and tricks you need to make mosaics. In this video, we're going to be looking at which tools you need to cut which materials. The tools. First, we have the ordinary side biters, which are probably the most common tool in mosaic making. Then we have the compound nippers, which are basically an upgrade of the side biters. Then there are the Leponitt wheeled nippers. And the Montolit wheeled nippers, which, like with the side biters and the compound nippers, these Montolits are basically an upgrade of the Leponitt. Then we have the Mosaics hammer and hardie. So this is a tabletop hardie, and this is a hammer which has a carbide tipped end. You can see a slightly different shade of metal on the end here, and then a normal steel tipped end. And the different ends are used for different materials. So the steel is for stone and the carbide is for glass. And then we have a flatbed tile cutter. So those are the tools that I'm going to show you in this video. Now let's look at the materials. Here we have some marble rods, a beach brick, some beach brick, a lump of ordinary marble, some sandstone, broken crockery, vitreous glass. This is a specialised glass that you buy in mosaic suppliers. Shells. I don't normally cut the thinner ones, but these are the thicker ones. This is a smalti, which either comes in little bricks like these or in larger pizzas or part pizzas. Ceramic tiles, unglazed ceramic tiles. These again are specialist mosaic materials. And ordinary domestic glazed tiles that you buy for the kitchen or the bathroom. I'll start with these side biters and the compound nippers. As I said, these tools basically do the same job. The only difference, as you can see, is that the gap between the two blades on the side biters is slightly smaller than it is for the compound nippers. So these tools are used for cutting unglazed ceramic tiles like these Winkelmans. And I've done a separate video on how to cut, and you can see they work perfectly easily with the unglazed ceramic. The compound nippers are really sturdy, useful, all-purpose tool. You can use them to cut fairly thick ceramic like this really easily. You can, let's say that you've cut this domestic tile down to a smaller shape and you want to refine your cuts, you can use the tool for that. It's fine cutting through beach brick like this. It's even okay for rods of marble, and certainly has no problem cutting through this thicker shell. These tools, the side biters and the compound nippers, will basically do a range of ordinary mosaic materials. These, as I said, are just slightly harder to use than the compound nippers when you're dealing with thicker materials. So they will cut through marble and thicker plates and even brick and the tile. But if you're doing a lot of cutting over a long period of time, I would thoroughly recommend the compound nippers. Now let's look at the Leponitt and the Montolit wheeled nippers. So I use the Leponitt for cutting any kind of vitreous glass. Again, there's a separate video on how to cut vitreous glass. These are great, they cut through it like butter. I've seen people using the Leponitt to cut unglazed ceramic, but I wouldn't recommend it because the blades will quickly get blunt. There are little tools you can get to unscrew this central point, and therefore you can turn the blade around and keep the sharp end at this point. But still, there's no reason why not just to reserve the Leponitt for glass and to use the side biters or the compound nippers for ceramic and harder materials. These Montolits are, again, as I said, a fancier version of the Leponitt, and because they're wider apart, it's easier to get thicker materials in between them. So here is a smalti block, and that will cut very easily with the Montolit nippers, and even kind of, I think you could perhaps, if this is a smaller chunk, yes, I wouldn't recommend it. If this is a smaller chunk, you could cut a block of smalti like this with the Montolits. And again, thicker ceramic. However, because the compound nippers are so good at the job and they don't blunt so easily, I would save the Montolit and the Leponitt for glass only. The hammer and hardie is basically a great tool for almost anything, but particularly good for foraged and found materials which are thick, like this beach brick, or this lump of sandstone and another lump of quarried sandstone. It's also used for smalti pizzas, for the smalti bricks, for machine cut marble, and even for thicker ceramic. You can get a much finer cut, you can get much smaller pieces, more finely cut using a hammer and hardie on the ceramic than you could with the compound nippers. And finally, to cut domestic tiles like these in all thicknesses, and to get them down to a usable size, you just use a flatbed cutter like this one, which you can get from tile suppliers. I hope that helped you understand which tools to use for which mosaic materials. If you like this video and you'd like to see more, then please subscribe below.